Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spohr each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hey everyone, super excited to welcome you back to the show and to welcome my very special guest today and my friend Tamara Childs. She is a professional intuitive consultant and astrologer who specializes in assisting empaths to stop feeling frazzled so they can live a life they love. She is also an international best-selling author with a new book called Soul Alchemy, Ascension Codes for Living a Life Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. This sounds so juicy, and I can't wait to ask you about the book. Welcome, Tamara.
Jennifer, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure and joy to have you. I just have loved connecting with you, and I'm super excited to have you as a guest and to just share your light and your delicious energy with everybody.
Oh, I love that you use the word delicious because I think a lot of clients of mine, I'd ask them, like, just give me your words. And they said, I want a delicious life. And so
Mhm.
I try to pepper some of my language with that because who doesn't want something delicious? And thank
Yes,
you for that.
delicious. I love that so much. A delicious life. Yeah, we do. I mean, joy is a great word. We talk about joy and love a lot, but there are so many other words that
That describe what we're moving toward. And I know that's such a specialty of yours. I know from connecting with you, I've watched how that's kind of a specialty of yours, that you bring people into the next thing. And I think all of us want to just keep growing and expanding, don't you?
absolutely. I'm glad that you touched on that because our journey is an evolution. Uh there's just so much programming in the world around change as being something that's feared, but our divine power to create and our free will to evolve is a gift, and it's an upgrade, right? Feeling called to change, definitely something to be embraced for sure.
Well, and it's a brave part of us because first of all, it's not wrong or bad that we have an uncomfortability with change. I mean, there's this who moved my food dish kind of aspect to us where our comfort level gets really disturbed when we're being called into something greater. And I think the test is really which voice do we listen to? Do we listen to the voice of growth and expansion, or are we listening to, I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I'm going to contract into, something that's more familiar.
Absolutely. It's so important to be able to discern between those voices. And so, yeah, there's huge value. I mean, that's something I work with clients a lot around, is their own intuitive psychic development, and just as important, what does truth, like with a capital T, feel like in their body, right? Because there
Mm.
is just so much illusion and I mean, just like a lot of bullshit out in the world. So
I'm so glad that you talk about illusion and truth. Like when you just said that, I almost got chills because this thing about, it's as if the modern world is designed to pull us completely, first of all, out of our bodies and out of our intuition and out of our truth and out of the purpose that we came here for to some degree, and just to keep us anesthetized, zombied, watchers of reality.
yes. Yeah, it's true. Yes, we uh I mean, when I say we, I'm speaking in context of the collective, have been living within those constructs for, thousands and thousands of years, and very similar to nature. The our ways of living and being are cyclic as well. And as you know, we're moving into a new earth, right? It's often referred to the new earth, but back into a time where essentially, the pendulum is is swinging again. And even if someone wasn't trying to focus on their own growth, right? The energies of change are so powerful,
Yeah.
that that you feel it. It's like you're being pulled toward it
Pulled kicking and screaming for the
in
part
some
of us that,
cases.
yeah, that don't move my food dish. But I work a lot with astrology as well as a tool to educate people about how we're wired. Why are we the way that we are, and how to really embrace that. And I love that you're mentioning the collective, because indeed, we have this very jarring energy of Uranus always moving through these new spaces. And I feel that we're either growing or we're wilting on the
Mhm.
vine, and we have to, but not everyone wants to get out of the comfort zone, and yet we are in a time of tremendous change and being jolted awake into new places.
Absolutely. And that not wanting to get out of the comfort zone, that in of itself is a veil of illusion, right?
Mm,
Because if we're clear in our sense of self and acutely tuned in to the truth of who we are, right? We welcome that change. And I feel like a lot of the reason, I mean, in my experience anyway, a lot of the reason why people resist that is because there are a lot of fear-based beliefs around, changing lifestyles, changing relationships. Again, all programming, societal, transgenerational, ancestral programming, that everything needs to be compartmentalized, that everything has to have a label, right? So, yeah, there are so many layers, and it can feel complex at times. Yet, I believe the truth of that to be that our ascension and our evolution is actually quite simple. And that is that if we even just chose to focus on being clear in our sense of self, right? Knowing what truth feels like in our body, then our ability to make changes, embrace change, and make decisions, those things would fall into place with a lot more ease and grace and joy.
that's true. But consider that we're moving into, you mentioned constructs. So when we decide to live in truth, how supported is that by the construct itself of social conditioning? I mean, it's not easy to be married for 25 years and all of your friend groups are the same or whatever, and then decide that you're being true to yourself to move forward in growth, and that may be away from partnership, and how unsupported we really are being in our truth, or because, and it's that whole crowd mentality. It's this it's sort of like the crowd watching as one person sticks their neck out and dares to kind of stick your head above the crowd kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I have so much compassion for the part of us and our clients that are cringing a little bit to take the steps, because often when we want to make a big change in our lives, who is really supportive that's close to us? That can be difficult for people.
Yes, that is important to acknowledge. Yes, it can be difficult. It's not a journey for the faint of heart, and it unfolds in the way that it does because we mentioned, I think briefly earlier, that everything is energy, right? And so our external realities, choices, relationships, lifestyles, all of those things are a reflection of who we were in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. Such a good point. So we have to, sometimes we get so riveted by the the display on the wall, not the projector. You know, we're looking at the movie, but we're not really owning, okay, I'm seeing what has been, but I'm not going to judge myself into that corner. I'm not going to stick myself, you know, permanently. I'm not going to ink this one down. I'm going to step away and understand that the power's within me to turn my projector in any direction. And I think that's one of the joys of living too. But it's not a joy that we've necessarily been taught we can do. We've been taught it's okay for you to create a business or be an entrepreneur or draw a picture or dance a dance, but we're not necessarily encouraged to not be programmed by the construct. And so how does one get there is really the question, I think, that I'm trying to answer in my work with people, and you probably are too.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with, I was going to say making a conscious decision. Even before that, I want to say it really starts with allowing yourself to get honest with yourself, allowing yourself the space to dream the dream, to see the vision, to receive that into your body, no matter how illogical it seems based upon your external environment. And then start making decisions that align with that. As we were saying, everything is energy, right? So in order to bring to reality what you want to create, you know, what you want to do creatively, what you are imagining, you have to consciously step into the frequency of that.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting to talk about because, and I'm actually making a note here, everything is energy. The first thing back that people might come back with is, oh no, you don't understand my reality. But if we can really go, because when you say everything's energy, what you're speaking about is the same as the metaphor of the projector, which is, you know, kind of an old-fashioned concept now. You know, it used to be we projected film, and now everything's digital. But you know, if we can own that we are the blueprint, we are creating the blueprints on
Mhm.
the inside, and it's not what you see. What you see is just feedback, just information to tell you whether you want more of that or not. And I think we do get stuck sometimes in the movie and just replaying the scene over and over, and it's like, no, this is just a movie and just a scene, and just move past this scene and pull your power back to understand that you can really, like you said, have permission to dream. And it's in that interior and that contemplative space that no one can invade, although they are trying, you would think, you know, with all of the invasion of our brains and, you know, all of the stuff, that the information overload that's hitting people. But still, that's where that quiet space within can be so fruitful and
Yeah,
so generative.
it really is. It's so crucial to create that space for yourself every day, even if it's, you know, only a few minutes. And it's interesting because I was just having another conversation with someone earlier today where we were talking about I call them daily success habits, but it's like we were talking about meditation, and some people shy away from doing that regularly because they
Mhm.
make it into this, it's kind of like making that mountain out of a molehill thing, right? It's like, oh, I have to create the space and sit down and do this and do that. And there is absolutely value in learning how to be with yourself in a quiet space. However, there's lots of options. There's walking in nature can be meditative, exercise can be meditative, you know, like whatever that is for you and your unique path. I want to acknowledge something you said earlier when you were talking about, you know, how sometimes we can feel stuck in that transition or in making changes, we're feeling called to change, and it's true. I make it sound simple here. And the truth is that it is simple. Sometimes it doesn't happen like that for us, you know, based upon our unique path, because we may have unhealed trauma, or, you know, as an example, right? Or have uh, ancestral stuff, right? That were societal programming and any number of things that we're holding on to in our bodies that are presenting like an obstacle to where it doesn't feel aligned for us to make the decision to go, okay, I'm jumping timelines and going here, and then it doesn't happen that way. So I do want to acknowledge that, because that does happen, and that's where it is so valuable to reach out for support, right? And this can be with other peers. This can be with colleagues or of friends who are like-minded. This could be investing in support with a coach or a teacher or a mentor. Especially, as I think you said before, right? Like, you're called to these changes on your path, and it feels like everything in your current physical reality, it's a reflection of who you used to be. And that's when it's extra important to surround yourself with that support, because it can feel very isolating. It can feel very much like you're on an island. Know that you are not on an island. And forever, anyone who happens to be listening to this and isn't sure where to go, right? Like, you can reach out to us for direction, in terms of whether it's us supporting you or directing you toward groups and podcasts and other things that we know of that can share, that can surround you with more like-minded people. It's super important to find your community.
Well, because everything snowballs. So if you wake up, that's where that old song came from. Walking on the sunny side of the street, and you want to get up on the bright side of the bed, or the sunny side of the bed. I forget exactly. But what that means is that energy, it accumulates and it snowballs. And so wherever you are, like if you're noticing something in your reality that reminds you too much of an old you or a stuckness, you've got to inject some present time love into yourself, enough, whatever it takes to feel lovable in that moment, and then give yourself that breathing room to turn in a different direction. It can be a 1-degree shift where you suddenly just give yourself some tenderness. And I've noticed with my clients that I often have to say, treat yourself the way you would treat a beloved other, because we often treat others so much more gently and with so much more consideration, and we are harsh on ourselves in our self-talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Another veil of illusion, right? And it's everywhere. It's in society, it's in media, it's in religion, because there are a lot of truths throughout various religions. There are also a lot of man-made constructs that are fear-based, and fear is not of God, right? Or whatever that energy is that you believe in, source energy, universe, whatever. But yeah, it's so important. We could go on this topic for quite a while. Again, that's why it's so crucial to, as you said, create that space for yourself, to also have a clear sense of self, knowing what truth feels like for you, and then having that as a basis with which to move forward on your path from.
Well, and some days we wake up so bombarded and so cluttered with stuff, or we accidentally check social media before we've done a check-in with ourselves. And we feel just fuzzy brained and cotton mouthed. And, we just feel like we have a bunch of stuffing in our heads. And so sometimes if you're like a more kinesthetic person, sitting still, trying to meditate and be still when that's not your way. The other day I was trying to do that and I felt like I had stuffing for brains. And so I went into my garden and I started weeding. And because, either walking or doing something repetitive, I'm not a knitter, but it really calms my brain waves and calms my mental function when I soothe myself, because I have a very accelerated nervous system, as do my clients. And so I always have to look for ways to unplug from the tech and get into more of a calm rhythm where I'm able to have that space to feel myself.
Yeah, let's elaborate on that if you don't mind, because I know that you specialize in working with a lot of empaths, and I feel like what you said about the ability to unplug and the nervous system is really important. I'm also an empath.
Of course,
And
of course. Yeah.
and something that was really key for me on my personal ascension journey has been learning as an empath how to feel others without physically feeling others, right?
Yes.
So important, because if we don't kind of learn how to do that, we can be sponges, just like everything's out there. Anyways, I would love for you to elaborate on how you work with people around that.
Oh gosh. Well, one of the ways, and I describe my work a variety of ways depending on mood and who I'm talking to, but sometimes I say that I help highly sensitive people stop feeling like crash test dummies. I don't know if you remember from the,
Yes.
years ago, those crash test dummy commercials. And, so often we can feel beat up because we are aware, and sometimes our boundaries are not super clear. And we're also, sometimes we care, and it's a development. An empath is actually a highly developed space. Anytime you have sensitivity, it's a development. It's not just trauma. And I know there are teachers that say sensitivity, is hypervigilance. I'm not talking about hypervigilance that comes from a traumatic past. I'm talking about innate wiring that makes you see the trees as alive, that makes you have compassion and awareness for animals, that helps you feel the energy in the sky when a thunderstorm is coming, and also helps you walk into a room, know what people are feeling before they say it. That's an empath. You're aware of emotional energy. You're reading them. You are highly skilled. That's a skill. The problem is we grow up in a world that just says you're an emotional basket case because you're sad a lot. But why are you sad a lot? It's because you feel other people and nobody taught you where you end and they begin. So that's what I do a lot with clients, is just teach them very lovingly where you end and where they begin, and that everything you feel in the world doesn't mean you have to fix it. You can be aware of something, but it's the judgment and the responsibility on the judgment that causes us to want to caretake that. Oh, that person's upset, let me fix it. No, you don't got to fix it. Pull back. You're okay. Let everybody be a sovereign being in their world. And then you become like lit up like a star in a certain kind of sense, because you're like, first of all, there's a lot of creativity in those empaths. I mean, come on, they're thinking up new ideas and businesses and all kinds of wonderful things. They're writing, they're doing stuff. And you no longer have to feel kind of like a cosmic janitor.
So true. Gosh, there's so much I'd love to unpack from that. Like, where do I want to start? So, what you said about the need to fix, right? In my experience, I do believe that that can come from one, societal programming, and two, environmental conditioning from family or from childhood, you know, where like that need to please comes in, right? I feel like that can often come from that. And then I love what you said about acknowledging, like with your clients, acknowledging that everyone is kind of like their own sovereign divine creator. And it's so true. Just like you and I are on our own personal ascension journey, everyone else is as well. And they are sovereign. We aren't responsible for how other people feel.
Yeah. And I think, Jennifer, when you were saying that, I wanted to say those who can do. And what I mean is, if you're wired that you're aware that mommy's having a bad day and she's feeling tired and you're her little caretaker, that's a talent and ability, and it's a caring too. There are people who are so blocked off that they are so sociopathic. They are not feeling other people's needs. They are not interested in taking care of anybody. And we're talking about people at the totally different end of the spectrum. So I think it comes down, though, to a decision that yes, you feel that pain. You have awareness. You're seeing something. You're aware of somebody's state, but do you have to change it? And I think that that's where we're not, and especially girls, women, in female bodies are not necessarily always raised to not take care of others. I think we're often encouraged that you put the Band-Aid on somebody else.
Mhm.
So I think it's having your sovereignty with, I'm not going to fix that right now, but I will love that person. I appreciate that something's going on over there. Let me do an energy check on my fuel level and my willingness and also my choice. Do I want to assist or not assist? We live in a free will universe. We are not slaves. We're not caretaking slaves.
Right, exactly. I'd love to kind of change gears here and hear more about the book,
Ah,
Soul
yeah.
Alchemy. Tell us all about it.
Sure. Well, so this is Soul Alchemy, Ascension Codes to Live a Life Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. Um, and, my focus for the book was really talking a little bit about how I grew up and my understanding of the patterns of abandonment and rejection. And then being pulled into I like to call it an unearned connection with source that happened for me when I was around 20. And I had a very profound moment that was an out of body experience, basically, where I just became not myself anymore. And I was turned inside out and was suddenly found myself in a river of very fast moving gold light that was, rushing through the universe. It was very interesting. And it was very ecstatic because I didn't have to hold on to the bits of me anymore. And I had never felt this way before. And it was a heart experience. It happened through the heart. It came through the top of my head into my heart. But I also made a choice in the middle of that experience to pull back into my crystallized identity and not just go. Because I felt like it was a choice between going and I would never come back because it was so wonderful. And I pulled back into my crystallized identity as who I was at that time. But it's like it turned on a switch inside of me, and it helped to give me courage to move forward through the rest of the difficulties in life and stretching through life that I had to do. And it was everything that through my childhood, I had a chaotic and tumultuous childhood. And so that was kind of left me in a state of disrepair by the time I was about 20. I just felt like I was just lost and kind of broken. And then I had this experience totally. I didn't know how to meditate at the time. I was kind of depressed. It just happened to me. And it just kind of turned the light switch back on. It like rewired me just enough that I could kind of find my spiritual path more.
I know so many people can relate to that, and I would encourage them to definitely reach out and read your book. Uh, Tamara, just in closing, what what else are you feeling guided to bring forward?
Oh, um, do you mean just in general or more of a,
Intuitively, anything?
for everyone
Hmm.
in general? I think the message I have right now is a reiteration of some of the topics that we've spoken about, Jennifer, which have to do with please unplug daily. As you just said, I forget exactly how you called it,
Oh, daily success habits.
daily success habits, but one of those would be consciously unplugging your sovereignty from hive mind stuff, getting out of social media, tap into you, because it's like there's a spacious refreshing drink from your soul waiting for you if you can just get the noise out long enough. And the other message is to have courage with that, because there's such a clamor and such a, all of our nervous systems have been trained now to be like, what's next? What's next? The news, what's next? Social media. Stop. Just pull back your energy, because that's your power, and your point of focus is your power. And just give yourself a lot of love for being here right now on the earth.
I love that. So beautiful. Thank you. Tamara, if someone's feeling called to connect with you at a deeper level, where is the best place for them to go?
A really easy place is just tamarachilds.com. You can sign up for my weekly energy updates there. To celebrate the book launch, I do have a little bit of a special, and you can email me through my website if you're interested in this. It's a North Star Destiny reading. It's a special look at where you're called to be right now, and it's astrological. So I use the astrology and, of course, the intuitive to help get that together. And if you decide you want that, I have a special little gift, which is the audio of my workbook. The book came with a workbook. And so I have an audio of that I can give to you as a gift if you decide to have this reading.
Oh, I love that. And the reading is so aligned with, what we're moving through as a collective right now too. Tamara, thank you. Thank you so much. I literally feel like it's been 5 minutes and it's been 30 minutes already.
Well, you've just made it so fun. I'm so thankful that you invited me as your guest. You're so generous, and thank you for having me. And I look forward to connecting with you more.
Oh, me too. Thanks so much. Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspore.com.